Chair recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Clyde, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My gentleman colleague from California, just a couple of members ago, seems to think that Donald Trump was president last summer during the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. You know, personally, I would have preferred if Donald Trump were the president last summer. If that had been the case, we would not have had the disastrous withdrawal that we saw. But it was Joe Biden who is the president, and Joe Biden who is completely and totally responsible for the crisis on the world stage known as the Afghanistan disaster. President Biden showed weakness then, and he continues to show weakness. And we all know that weakness promotes aggression. Unlike Ronald Reagan's policy of peace through strength, Joe Biden's weakness on the world stage has promoted the current Ukraine crisis and the real possibility that we may very soon see another war in Europe. Crisis after crisis is the legacy of our current president, Joe Biden. Mr. Rosio, you know, the world watched in horror as the Taliban's ragtag bunch of undisciplined fighters forced the American military into a self-made and self-chosen corner at Kabul airport last summer. Considering the optic of that disastrous withdrawal, what impact do you believe it had on foreign terrorist organizations?
Thank you, sir. The foreign terrorist organizations were buoyed by what happened after the Taliban took control of the country. The U.S. was boxed into a corner in Kabul. The images of that withdrawal, the videos of this withdrawal were distributed widely by jihadist organizations, not by individuals, jihadist sympathizers, members of the Taliban, suspected jihadists on social media platforms. I saw these myself. They were crowing over the fact that the U.S., which, you know, that they've beaten a superpower, and we can't deny this. What happened in Afghanistan was a defeat for the United States. We wasted 20 years of blood and treasure, whatever number you want to put to that, whether it's $1 trillion, $2 trillion. I've seen all kinds of crazy estimates, but the reality is we spent 20 years trying to stand up an Afghan government, and we failed. And we failed because we left precipitously. We never gave the Afghan government an opportunity to defend itself. The decision was we're leaving, and we're leaving in a short amount of time. It took 2 months to execute, or 2.5 months from the day that President Biden announced the withdrawal. We left a small force behind. So after the U.S. left by July 4th, within a month and a half, the Taliban were in control of Afghanistan, and we were forced to leave. The propaganda boon for Al-Qaeda, for the Taliban and other jihadist groups that has come out of Afghanistan, Afghans clinging to the wheels of planes and falling from the sky, the airport being overrun, U.S. soldiers holding weapons pointing at Afghans. This is recruiting material that they're going to use both internationally to wage their local jihads, as well as to sponsor attacks against the U.S. homeland.
Thank you. I think we will see this time and time again over your lifetime and my lifetime both. And thank you for confirming that indeed it was President Biden who announced the withdrawal from Afghanistan. It was not President Trump who was president at the time. He did not have the executive authority. He was not the commander-in-chief. It was President Joe Biden who was the commander-in-chief, who gave the military the order. And as a military officer myself, I fully understand how the military operates. And it was Joe Biden's order. It was his directive that the military fulfilled. Therefore, the responsibility falls 100% at the feet of President Joe Biden. It was a disaster then. It's a disaster now. It will continue to be a disaster for years and years and years to come because of how it will be exploited by terrorist organizations, and they will buoy their ranks with it, and it will be a detriment to the United States. And with that, thank you, and I yield back.